Warlords is here! This new expansion to Galactic Civilizations IV Supernova adds many exciting new features to the new and improved combat systems introduced in the accompanying version 2.5 update titled Ares. In this video, we'll take a look at some of the new gameplay elements Warlords introduces to Supernova and the powerful effects they'll bring to bear upon your enemies in-game. With the Warlords expansion, when a player declares war on another civilization, they now get to set the scope and scale of the war by picking a war aim. There are 4 to pick from, each representing an increasing commitment to the scale of a conflict, with longer and more destructive wars incurring a greater diplomatic penalty as an alarmed galactic community reacts to a public announcement of your stated war aims. The War of Defense declares the most limited form of hostility as a quick and focused conflict, perhaps to remove hostile military or cultural starbases from your border, to claim some much needed strategic resources, or to reclaim a former colony lost to your neighbour. Declaring a war of expansion displays an intent to assimilate new worlds into your empire through military means, perhaps a handful of border worlds or a single, well-defended strategic location. Next, a war of conquest indicates an intention to wrest vast tracts of your enemy's empire through a bloody, prolonged conflict with their tattered remnants left picking up the pieces afterwards. Finally, in the most dire of circumstances, or when you're playing the Your Singularity or the Korath clan, the War of Annihilation lets the galactic community know that you're not going to stop until there's nothing left of your sorry rivals. The diplomatic penalties for this are dire, however. Note that you, the player, are completely free to start and end conflicts whenever you like, and the war aim system does not lock you into any kind of artificial time limit for your war. Instead, if your war grinds on longer than you originally claimed it would, in-game events will start to kick in to gently remind you of your stated war goals. It's possible to start a war of defense and for it to drag on much longer than you'd suggested to your Galactic Civilization rivals, but there will be increasingly serious consequences for doing so. Not everybody loves endless wars, and some players like to get them over with as quickly as possible so they can focus on the more peaceful aspects of their 4X gaming time. We've done much to mitigate the occurrence of forever wars for players like this, and now Warlords gives you even more options on how to conduct your own military conflicts, keeping them to a reasonable length and scale as you see fit. Warlords adds new invasion tactics to employ when it comes to sieging and capturing enemy core worlds and colonies, each with their own benefits and downsides that affect the length of the invasion and the after effects once the planet has been captured. Orbital bombardments and surface invasions use tried and tested conventional tactics to taking enemy planets, while technological advancements will open up more exotic and focused methods. Some of these, such as biological attacks or EMP attacks, target specific citizen biology types, while more or less violent options exist too. Want to free the world from the tyrannical grip of its former masters? Then, the Liberate Invasion tactic will do just that, with the freed planet forming its own faction. On the other hand, Annihilate target blasts the surface clear of alien scum, clearing the planet ready for your own superior civilization to take over. Ship types are a new way to organise ships of the same hull size according to their intended combat specialisation. Fighters and bombers are still the sole player constructible types in the tiny hull category, and a carrier joins the dreadnought in the huge class, but Warlords adds in even more ship types to join that existing roster. In the small hull category, the good old frigate is now joined by the corvette. In the medium hull category, we're introducing the destroyer to support the existing cruiser type, and the battleship is joined by the command ship in the large hull category. Each ship type, old and new, has been assigned an ability. As a quick comparison, the frigate now gets more accuracy, while the corvette, added in Warlords, has a hit point boost instead. Furthermore, we're introducing ship classes as a new way of organising ship designs in Gal Civ 4. A ship class is a ship type plus a doctrine, and a doctrine is comprised of an operational ability and a targeting priority. In Warlords, both the operational ability and the targeting priority can be manually selected by the player to change the performance of a ship in combat. Let's look at an example using the new corvette type. Playing as the Drenjin, here's a ship class we created called the Wolfhound, with the intention of fielding it in packs to hunt down and capture larger capital ships. The ship type is the corvette, so it gets a plus 25% hit point bonus that comes with that type, and a good choice when facing down larger hulled ships. Turning to the ship class's doctrine next, let's take a look at the operational ability component first. These are a player selectable bonus that further define the role your ship class will take. The Warlords expansion adds in 14 additional operational abilities, such as Longshot, which grants additional weapon range and allowing your class to pelt opposing ships from way out of the fracas, or Sentinel for better targeting the deadly bomber class of ships. Mixing and matching different ship classes with different operational abilities will be key to defeating large enemy fleets, particularly when you're outnumbered. In this example, we've picked Ghost for an evasion bonus, as we'll not have hull space for evasion boosting components, and we need to dodge as much incoming fire as possible if we're hunting capital ships. This brings us onto the targeting priority, which provide the ship class instructions on which other ship types to go after first, and which to take on after those have been eliminated in sequence. With the Warlords expansion, you can select whichever targeting priority you want for your class, and here I'm selecting capital ships. Our Wolfhound corvettes will first target cruisers, then destroyers, then battleships, at which point they're free to engage other targets. Warlords adds even more targeting priorities for you to pick from. More options here means finer control over your fleets during combat, with different ship classes each targeting a different series of enemy ship types. Careful composition of fleets, each containing varied ship classes with doctrines set to cover everything your enemy will throw at you, will become an important consideration in your future war plans. After picking the ship type and doctrine, we can now add components to our new ship class as before. The Warlords expansion adds in many new ship components, often with more experimental or exotic effects. Let's take a look at just a couple of these now. Our Warhound corvette here has a couple of assault shuttle pods added, which allow the capture of enemy vessels in combat, allowing you to steal ships from your enemies and field them right back at them. Another exciting component is the time dilator, which uses some fancy high-tech physics tricks to reduce the rate of enemy fire in combat. This is a deadly effect, and can be used to reduce the offensive capability of your enemy's most deadly capital ships, reducing their overall firepower and freeing your fleets to complete their own objectives with less oncoming fire. Warlords adds many components with special battlefield effects such as these, to increase the tactical nuance in combat and give you more options when facing a critical fleet action. As you can see, by creating the right ship classes, including their various abilities and doctrines, and then carefully selecting them to complement one another in a fleet, Galactic Civilizations IV Supernova's combat system has undergone a drastic upgrade. This improvement affects both the player's agency when it comes to affecting what actually happens during a battle, and by increasing the creative choices in how they approach fleet combat and warfare overall. Warlords further improves all of this by increasing the amount of options available to the player, and with these extra features, there is much fun to be had in planning your own mighty battle fleets and working out counters to those fielded by your rivals. The Warlords expansion allows the player to capture Starbases, instead of just destroying them. This opens up a lot of new strategies, as strategic resources can be more easily stolen from the enemy by capturing their mining starbases, or military starbases can be captured in the run-up to an important invasion to provide defensive support to your armadas leading the action. Finally, many of the features exclusive to Warlords, such as the more advanced and exotic invasion tactics and ship components, are unlocked through a series of new tech choices in the research tree. This expanded tree is better organised in version 2.5 and has been designed to provide you with more options in the early game too. We hope you enjoy the new features and options that Warlords brings to Galactic Civilizations IV Supernova, both in increasing the scope, scale and fun of fleet combat, planetary invasions, and the general experience of waging war on a galactic scale. Cheers!